was fun.
Are we ready, Jake?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. I'm going to go ahead and get started. All right. Well, I'm Christine. I was here at the orientation. I'm glad to be here. I'm really glad to be here today. This morning I woke up and the first article I read this morning was about the depletion in our culture of toilet paper and why it is that there is no toilet paper.
What did you find out?
That it's
We've all been wondering.
Primarily it is in response to this fact that toilet paper is just very fundamental and it's something we feel we can control. And it's also a form of high reactivity. Everyone is freaking out, and when we freak out, we're not thinking rationally and we're making purchases. So like toilet paper, right? All this toilet paper without necessarily thinking that through. Like, why toilet paper? So the only thing that we can conclude is that it is because that people think that now this is something I can control. I can buy toilet paper. So far it's been on the shelves. I can't buy hand sanitizer anymore. I can't buy Clorox wipes anymore. But there's toilet paper until now there's not toilet paper. So this afternoon I received an Amazon Prime box of toilet paper. And I had forgotten that I had ordered toilet paper about a week and a half ago.
So you're part of the problem.
I'm part of the problem, if you call it a problem. But I share this with you, despite a 30-year mindfulness meditation history, I myself got caught up in, reactive buying, reactive purchasing, to the point where I forgot that I had purchased the toilet paper. So that was on my doorstep this afternoon after having read the article this morning. And even in reading the article this morning, I did not make the connection that I had done that too. So here we are. Right? And I share that with you because when the mind is so flooded with stress hormone, we do not make clear decisions, and we will take action and make decisions out of that place of fear and reactivity without asking ourselves, why am I doing this? And we have to be particularly vigilant now when we're taking certain actions to protect ourselves with regard to this virus. And part of the way that we can do that is through mindfulness practices. So the next time it's late at night and I'm on Amazon Prime filling my cart, I need to pause and ask why. Why this purchase? Where is this coming from? What does this mean? Okay. So last time you met, the topic was anchoring, right? And the idea was, how can I use various things as my anchor when I'm sort of feeling adrift, when I feel emotionally overwhelmed? What can I call upon to anchor me back down into a very calm and grounded place? The breath being one of your most important anchors, although the breath doesn't work for everyone. Today's class is called Mindfulness of Breath. So I'm going to be teaching you about different ways that you can use the breath. And I really want you to sort of try on, today's really experiential, try on a number of different ways of using the breath and see how you feel about it. But before we do that, I want to take you through an anchoring practice. It'll be about 3 minutes. I'm going to anchor you in this practice in 4 different ways. And when we're finished, I'm going to ask you which felt best for you. And this will give you a sense of where you can go in your own bodies, because you're always with your body and your body is always with you. So you can always come back to the body and find a place to anchor. And when we're finished, I'll also share with you my primary anchor. The way that you want to think about an anchor is to think about a boat or a ship that's out at sea and the waters are really turbulent. And you know that you must anchor down in order to get stable in the midst of all of the chaos. So what is your anchor going to be? When are you going to use it? When are you going to call upon it? And what anchor is going to be most reliable? So that when you are in any situation, on the phone with a client, sitting in front of the client, watching the news, whatever it is that you're doing, you can call upon your anchor in that moment. You don't have to be in a meditative experience to call upon an anchor. You can use your anchors at any time, okay? All right. This is what it means to begin building a musculature for these really stressful and overwhelming moments that you can call upon at any time. All right? All right. So let's come into that seated position, whatever feels best for you. Always remembering that as long as the spine is straight, you can take the spine back so that it is supported by your chair if you want to. All right? Otherwise, you can sit up tall with the back away from the back of the chair. It doesn't really matter. Feet should be hip width apart, palms resting on your thighs. And again, closing your eyes is completely optional. If it doesn't feel comfortable for the eyes to be closed, you just keep your gaze soft, looking forward and slightly down. And as we sit, I just want you to relax through the body. Feeling the seat supporting you. Feeling the weight of the hands on your thighs. And gently guide your awareness to your feet. Noticing the weight of your feet against the floor. Maybe noticing the sensation of the shoes you're wearing or the socks against your skin. But really noticing the strength and the weight of your feet. When the mind is pulled away, just come back to the feet, their strength and their weight. And now guide your awareness to your spine. Focusing in on the dignity of your spine. The way that it holds you up, backs you up. The reliability of its presence. And now taking the awareness to the weight of your own hands against your thighs. Noticing the size of your hands, the way they're positioned, how stabilizing they feel. draw the awareness to your breath. Observing the sensation of the breath on the inhalation and then the exhalation. The sensation of the breath as you inhale and as you exhale. Using your inner awareness to come back to your feet. To travel to the spine. The weight of your hands. And the sensation of your own breath. Your feet, your spine, your hands, your breath. Reliable anchors. Always with you. Gently drop your chin just a bit. Gently open your eyes, letting the light back in. Coming back to the room. So how do you feel?
Oh, hey. Great. Although I felt a little tension in my upper back, and I think that's probably because I need better posture.
Were you supported by your chair, or were you sitting straight up?
Straight up.
Yeah.
These
You may have
chairs
just
are
wanted to
awkward.
come back. Yeah, they're not. Yeah, you may have, if you came back, it may have been a little bit easier. Were you distracted by that?
Not really, but I
Mhm.
did notice it. I
Yeah.
didn't really notice it until we went to the integrity of my
Spine.
spine.
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
I said dignity, but
Oh,
I love that.
dignity.
I'm going to start using that. The integrity of the spine. What of those four anchors works best for you?
I think the hands. I always thought it was the breath, but I think it's the hands.
Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Feel all the tingles in the hands.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How about you?
The hands or the feet.
Mm-hmm.
Breath.
Breath.
Hands.
Hands. You came in at the last minute.
I'm sorry.
That's
No,
okay.
probably halfway, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know. I wasn't aware. I was in my own trance.
I mean,
I knew you came in, but
I
I.
got at least like 3 or 4 minutes,
Mhm,
however long
mhm. Yeah. So we were.
So I did feet because I was on my feet, and then I just tried to do what you said the first day, like align myself.
Yeah.
Like, buried in the feet.
Shoulders down and back.
And I
Yeah.
was ready to almost like pass out.
Standing.
No, good, like
Yeah.
ready to, it was,
Thump.
Yeah. Yeah.
no, really.
So every once in a, after you learn about anchors, I like to guide you through an anchoring practice where you get to choose. You get to feel into these options to see what feels best for you. So about 2 weeks ago, I was driving and I received a call with some really difficult news. And I was on 81 and I really shouldn't have been driving as I was listening to the news because I was very upset and very distracted. So my anchor forever has been my feet. So even while I'm driving, listening to the news, very mindful that I shouldn't be driving, that I need to call myself back to myself. As I'm driving, listening, I'm saying, Christine, come back to your feet. Feel your feet. Feel your feet. So that's an example of how you can choose an anchor and really start working with your anchor in moments where you really need to be anchored. And you might not be in a position where you can have that quiet time to come into meditation, right? So we want in all of the things that we're offering you, we want you to have a formal practice, but we also want you to have tools that are portable that you can call upon in any situation. Okay, so one of the ways, or one of the things that you can do, because we'd like to bump your practice now from 3 minutes to 5 minutes, is you can simply come into your meditation time for that 3 to 5 minutes focused exclusively on just one of those anchors. Or if you want to do what I did, which is to travel around to each of them, feet, spine, weight of the hands on your thighs, or your breath. Okay. So in a lot of different kinds of meditation, forms of meditation, the breath is used in a lot of different ways, and in many ways it's manipulated. When we practice mindfulness meditation, we always want to remind our students that we want to be with the breath exactly as it is, first and foremost. So we're not toying with it, we're not trying to manipulate it, we're not trying to get it to do tricky or fancy things. Because what we know about the breath is that there is a steadiness and an evenness to breath that is as unique to you as your own signature. So for example, when you come into a really relaxed state, whatever breathing pattern and rhythm that your body takes on is the breathing pattern and rhythm that is most natural to your system. All right, so I wanted to share with you some qualities of what we call the best kind of breath. And the best kind of breath is natural and non-striving. We're not striving at it. We're not aiming to take deep breaths. We're not aiming to push out really lengthy exhalations. Natural and non-striving, effortless. And that's the second quality of what we call the best breath. Your body will breathe itself. It knows how to do that. And we can always trust in that. You came into the world, you took your first breath, your body knew how to do that, and your breath will be with you until you take your last breath, and your body will know how to do that as well. So the breath is a tool, it is with you all the time. You can always rely upon it as a very, very quick pathway into a state of peace. The best kind of breath is very easeful and calm. It's unhurried. The best kind of breath feels very nurturing, and the best kind of breath is precious. And we'll talk about preciousness toward the end of the lesson. When I am very aware of my own breath, I'm aware of the precious nature of it. At the very end of that guided meditation, I asked you to focus on the sensation of the air coming in and the air coming out. There is this spot right here at the bottom of the nose between the nasal passages that if you start to focus there as you take breath in and as breath leaves, you can feel the sensation of the breath. This is a strategy that I've been using very recently. I've been hyper-focused on using this strategy because for whatever reason right now, it feels very comfortable to me. It's really, really working. It's very comforting. So when I talk about where do you feel the breath as it comes in and as it comes out, this space, generally speaking, this very small space here, is full of sensation, and you can feel it entering and exiting. So typically the quality of the breath feels really pleasant. It can feel really unpleasant, or it can feel somewhat neutral. We're just not really conscious or aware of it at all. But those tend to be the qualities of your breath. I feel breath to be very pleasant when I'm in a more relaxed state. I feel breath to be pleasant when I'm focusing on this area between my nostrils. I feel breathing to be really unpleasant when I've got pain in my chest because I'm really anxious. What we know about breathing is that when we start to feel that heaviness in our chest, the breath has become really shallow, and we're coming into what I call 911 breathing. The body and the brain believes it's in an emergency state, and we're almost like taking sips of breath, whereas the origin of the breath should be in the belly. It's the place where it originates, and it's the place where it returns on the inhalation and exhalation. So as you're here in your workplace, sitting at your desk, managing the kinds of things you're managing as of late, you might want to ask yourself, where is my breath right now? Is there a fullness to the breath? Or is it right here? Because if it's right here, if it's from here up, I can be assured that I am not getting the oxygen that I need to support my organ health, my glandular functioning, my hormonal functioning, my circulatory functioning, and I'm certainly not getting the oxygen that I need for my cognitive functioning. And similarly, I'm not exhaling all the way if the breath is shallow. And if I'm not exhaling all the way, I'm robbing my body and my brain the opportunity to detoxify. Because that's really the function of your exhalation, to expel from the body toxins. So be very aware of where you're breathing from when you're in a really stressful moment. I think I mentioned to you when I was here last time during the orientation that there is this term now used to describe what people tend to do when they're in front of a screen for long periods of time, and they call it email apnea or screen apnea. And we're not breathing, we're actually holding our breath for periods of time, much like someone might hold their breath when they're asleep and suffer from apnea. And we know all too well what the ramifications are of not breathing in your sleep, particularly the impact that it has on our cardiac health. So people who have apnea and are not being treated for apnea are damaging their hearts. They are significantly impacting their own longevity. It's that serious. So start thinking about, I was talking to some other clients about when you open your email first thing in the morning, what is your general sense about it? Do you already feel yourself coming into a stressed state? Like, oh God, what is opening this going to mean for me? What is it going to result in? Or when you wake up and you see that you've received a flurry of text messages. So right away, check in with your breath. It's a really interesting place where you can learn a lot about yourself and what you're doing in a highly stressed and reactive state. Okay?
I was going to ask, I know you said not, I don't know if I missed the answer when I was gone, but you said not to try to manipulate the breath, but what if you notice that your breaths are very shallow and like in your chest versus like diaphragmatic?
Mm-hmm. So in mindfulness meditation, if I come into my meditation and I notice, wow, the breath is just here, it's really shallow. My awareness of that is mindfulness. Okay, I understand the breath here is really shallow. I'm in a stressed state, I am going to be okay with that. I'm not going to judge it. I'm not going to get upset with myself. Like this today when I saw the package on my front door, right? You missed my story. I woke up this morning reading about why it is that we as Americans are buying so much toilet paper here in the coronavirus.
You got a big package of toilet paper?
Well, I read the article, right? I was interested. It was really the psychology of all of us running out and buying toilet paper. It was very interesting. And I had forgotten that about a week and a half ago, I ordered toilet paper in bulk.
Why?
I myself had done it.
Did you?
Subconscious.
Yeah, it's in the face of the chaos and the fear and the uncertainty of this virus, people are doing what they believe they can have control over, and one of those things happens to be the purchasing of toilet paper. Except,
My wife bought some.
yeah,
I'm guessing it's more on the female side of things than it is on the male side.
they didn't make a gender distinction,
I'm
but
guessing.
yeah.
Sandpaper.
Only on weekends.
But many of us are, it's a form of non-mindful, highly reactive purchasing where we're not really thinking through, why did I just buy all that toilet paper? Anyway, it was a great story to lead into. What are we doing inside of our own minds in the face of this crisis? Back to your
So
question.
you forgot that you ordered the toilet
Totally
paper.
forgot I had ordered the toilet papers.
Even while reading the article.
Even while reading the article, it hadn't occurred to me that I had purchased.
How about hand wipes? You get a couple boxes of those?
I didn't.
Can't get those.
Everywhere was sold out.
Yeah, they're sold
They're
out.
selling out of those things.
Yeah,
You see
and the
that?
Clorox wipes are sold out too.
You should take what we have in there and sell it on the street to make some money.
Well,
I
like,
wondered why the
I'm
toilet
surprised
paper
you
was
didn't
$37.
That's immediately
As
what
I'm saying
thinking.
this
I'm
to
gonna
you.
steal some out of the thing.
So I'm recognizing as I come into meditation that I'm breathing from a shallow place. So I don't want to necessarily try to change that. I want to be aware of it. Mindfulness is, can I be in acceptance of this now moment? Then I can make a choice. And the choice I can make is, I know that my body would benefit from deeper breathing. So then I can come into aiming to try to breathe a little bit more deeply. But it's really important that upon the moment of the awareness, that you not dive in to try to fix it, change it, manipulate it. Can I just be with it? And then choose from a place of not being reactive, a different way, perhaps. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay.
So try not to be judgmental.
Try not to be judgmental. We want to really have an unbiased, unvarnished perspective, attitude to whatever it is that we notice is arising. It's one of the reasons why people do not continue on in their meditation. One of the key reasons is because of how harsh we can be when we have realizations about what we're doing or what the mind is doing while we're attempting to meditate. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, quality of breath, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. We're going to do something in a minute with the various sensation of breath, as well as a practice that gets us to look at the location of the breath. In other words, as you breathe in and as you breathe out, especially as you take the breath in, where do you feel it in your body? In other words, where is the breath landing? And there are lots of different places that the breath can land. But it's different for everyone. It's different in every situation. Okay? So I'm going to guide us through our second practice using breath. And I want you to experience the practice, and then we'll talk a little bit about what you observed as you were in the practice. Okay? All right, so let's set ourselves up again. This will be a shorter practice, and we're really using this practice to derive insight about what we're doing with the breath. Again, if this area,
No, that's okay.
okay, all right,
Get a stick.
You just have to accept it,
yeah.
right?
Stop it.
Take your osteoporosis pills.
All right, so preferably feet hip width apart. These hands resting on the thighs, eyes closed if that's comfortable for you. Otherwise, you're just gazing straight ahead with the focus very soft and slightly down. And right away, we're going to take our awareness to the breath, just as it is right now. Unbiased, non-judgmental, just as it is. Noticing the sensation of the breath as you inhale and as you exhale. How does the breath feel for you? Perhaps notice the temperature of your breath. Is it warm? Is it cool? If your breath had a texture, is it smooth? Is it jagged? Sharp? If your breath had edges, how do the edges feel? Does the breath feel light, weighted? Does the breath feel thick, thin? Where is the breath landing in your own body? Where do you feel it originating from and returning to? Maybe you feel it in the chest or the belly. The navel, the nostrils, the back of your throat. Is the breath feeling pleasant, unpleasant, neutral? And just be with your breath, just as it is. Whenever you're ready, open your eyes. So how would you describe your breath?
Heavy, deep,
Mhm.
cold,
Mhm.
rounded. You talk about edges.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Pleasant to neutral.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think of what else you asked. Because it did, it resonated.
You really,
Deep, deep,
yeah.
yeah.
Would you say that that characterizes your breath most of the time?
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think if I'm in the relaxed state, I'm,
Mhm.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
deep.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Makes me tired.
Yeah.
I think mine, at least for like the second half, it felt like when I would inhale, it seemed like it would go to like the back of my head and then come on out to the front.
Mm-hmm.
It was weird.
Did you like that sensation?
It was calming.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's interesting. I have a colleague who's an expert in nonviolent communication, and one of his protocols for the breath is to imagine the breath coming up the spine and cascading over the head and coming down. So when he teaches the breath, it's coming up the spine. And at first, when I was first doing it, I thought this isn't working for me. And then when I really got into it, there was this. So you can touch into this motion that your breath is taking on that can feel really good. Mm-hmm. Any other things you observed?
It wasn't very cold.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Room temperature.
Yeah. I think it was pretty deep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you know what? If we started off with this exercise, it may have been different because you had just come in here.
Mm-hmm.
It may have been a little bit deeper because of we started with a practice. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, it felt good. I could feel it like up through my head, tingling. Like I
Mhm.
thought I was having a,
Oh, that was me massaging your head.
no, I could.
You're gonna be
When you said
absolutely-
about coming up the back, and I
Mhm.
could feel like a little tingling.
Yeah.
Actually, I felt that too.
Mm-hmm.
And then, no, it was great. Your voice is wonderful. I wish we could pipe it through our sound system.
Yeah.
Drown out
Yes.
Clemente, because every
Yeah.
time I would walk into your voice, and I would hear our boy Clemente screaming back there like he does. And I was in such a good state, and then you would crash, and then come right back. So there was a little distraction. We had to get a soundproof.
Just today, just now?
We got
Only for,
Yeah.
only for
Oh,
Jeff.
really?
I didn't even notice
Was it
that.
so-
This is
Furthest
so
office
interesting,
from
I
right?
didn't hear Jeff. I heard
Did?
April.
No,
I
every
heard
single
Jeff.
word, because you're so concentrated on listening to you and the sounds and just your breath and the sounds. I could hear every little thing out there so overwhelmingly strong.
Wow. But were you pulled away by it, or were you just able to let it
No,
be?
let it be, let it go.
Yes.
But you're
Mhm.
so, like,
Yeah, you get like knocked out of the zone.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, we're
That's
all day. I
amazing.
never
I
hear
never even
anybody here.
noticed
I
it.
never hear anybody. You just like, but
Mhm.
I could tell you exactly what he was saying.
Maybe because I'm next to him all day and it's like really loud where I am.
Well, it's interesting. It just is evidence of I did not hear any of that. I heard
Yeah.
another voice over here, but then I became oblivious to
They're
it.
the two loudest people here.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's how you move on to. I'm sorry.
Oh. So the different places our minds go and what we're aware of, and we're all in the same room. We're surrounded by the same sounds, but it's really what we were attending to.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it could have been very difficult to be in that experience if you were very engaged in all that.
Correct, yeah.
It's another thing to be here focused on the breath. That's all happening, but you could still stay here.
That's what I mean. You could hear it because you were here.
Mm-hmm.
Where all day when you're here, you can't hear the noise. It's like white noise. But now that you're in that state, you're so sensitive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm.
I actually felt it in my belly and my nose. It kind of went back and forth. Not really sure why. Room temperature, I was like her in terms of the temperature of my breath. Very deep, heavy, I would say, and relaxing.
Yeah, good. Again, the heaviness, I love that. And I wonder if I launched in with this, if it would have been a little bit different. But because we had that first practice, you may have been a little more relaxed.
And then with the ends, are they smooth, are they sharp, are they, I guess smooth, I didn't feel any pain.
Sometimes,
So I'm not sure
sometimes
where
the
we're
breath,
going with that.
yeah, so sometimes the breath can feel very jagged. Especially when we're really anxious, it can feel jagged, like it has agitated, highly agitated, jagged. Like when we're irritated, the breath can feel hot and like almost like having prickly heat.
Yeah.
And it's not pleasant. Yeah.
Right.
So that's why I bring that in. I bring in this idea of texture and edges. That said, all of those potential qualities that I mentioned and the sensation of the breath, some of them might not work for you at all. You may have heard it and thought, what the hell is she talking about? This is all about what works for you. I just like to give a lot of different options.
Yeah.
Some
But-
people
but
will,
I liked it.
yeah, some people will say my breath feels like it has sharp, jagged edges.
Mine was smooth.
Yeah.
Mine did, because I had a tickle, and every time you said, "Are there jagged edges?" I felt the tickle in the back of my throat.
Oh, did you think you were gonna cough? Yeah.
Oh,
Were you trying to hold off from coughing?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm like, it's gonna screw everything up, and everyone's gonna kill me because I'm
No,
coughing
we
in a
wouldn't
closed
kill you.
room.
Yeah.
So anyway, every time you said sharp, it
Yeah,
was sharp.
yeah.
But then it went away. and
Okay.
It was relaxing.
Yeah, good.
But I didn't go into like all the other qualities, like
Mhm.
eating.
Oh, I felt every single one you said.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yep, it's that one. No, it's not that one.
Yeah, good, good. So what we were doing was really an inquiry, right? So you're breathing, because we're breathing all the time, but we're coming into this mindful state where you're sort of an observer now of your own breath. It's sort of like being a detective of your own breath. And when you can do that, there's this space then between what's going on in here and how I'm breathing and myself. And that's awareness. And it's really powerful, so that if you wanted to, between now and the next time we see you for your 3 to 5 minute practice, you can strictly have your practice be that, which is I'm going to spend the next 3 to 5 minutes really observing these various sensations of my breath. Okay.
Yeah, just open, like just very clear and very open
Mhm.
and relaxing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I didn't grab like the edges
Mm-hmm.
as much,
Mhm,
but
mhm.
just open,
Mhm.
relaxing,
Mm-hmm.
concentrating and breathing.
Good.
I saw a piece on, interestingly, in 60 Minutes just this past week that 15 to, I think they said 15 to 25 minutes of a nap, ideally between 2 and 3 o'clock a day, is like optimal for people. And they say like you're clearer, you're more attentive, you're like all the above, and it's being accepted more widely. Yeah, like they said, but it doesn't have to be long. Just they said, I think the studies showed that 15 to 25 minutes of a nap every day
Mm-hmm.
at 2 o'clock
Little
or
power
3
nap.
o'clock is like really good for you.
Mm-hmm. And the reason for that is anything over the 20 minutes is going to take you into that deeper sleep state.
Okay.
And so that if you wake up after that, you'll feel groggy. You've probably had experiences where you took a nap and you slept for an hour or two and you woke up and you felt very disoriented. So it's very therapeutic because you're actually in a state of rest in that short period of time that is so restorative, sometimes more restorative than an entire night of sleep.
I get amazing, like my mind is so active and so dreamy when I take a nap.
For a short,
a short period, so I guess I'm in REM, correct?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
But if I take a nap during the day, it's unbelievable. The
We
dreams
always-
I have.
Yeah.
Do you feel good though when you get out of
Yeah, I do.
Yes.
But the dreams, it's like they're very vivid, more vivid than.
Yeah, I'm not sure. You'll have to research that. What you come into. There's various brain states you come
I think REM
into.
is where you have to.
REM is the last one.
Yeah.
So
That's
that's,
why
the
you
one
remember-
you can't go there during a nap because then you wake up groggy. So you probably
Yeah.
wouldn't.
It's like after 45 minutes you hit REM, I think.
Yeah.
But
That's
is
your
it
deepest
REM? But
sleep.
that's
Yeah,
why
but REM
you
is where
remember
the
your
dreams
dream.
happen, I thought.
I thought.
I
When
think
you
you
get
can
woken
dream.
up in the middle of REM is when you remember your dreams, I think. Anyone else think that?
I think that.
Okay.
Maybe you're just hitting
So
REM
I don't
sleep
know.
a lot quicker than
Yeah,
it
well, I
is.
just press a button and go right turn
Of
around.
course.
Depending what I want.
Is that where you go today?
How about you?
I felt really relaxed, but I feel like I didn't feel my breath. Yeah. Like, I don't know. I couldn't
So there
feel
are-
it on my-
So I encourage you to just continue to have that awareness. I didn't feel. There you go. There was your mindfulness. I am aware that I didn't feel my breath, and work with that, and that's completely okay. There are some people. Actually, there are many people who, if you exclusively ask them to focus on the breath, become panicky. You know, my sister and my mom are two of those people. They are not interested in these practices because they think they're breath focused. Because if they are asked to focus on their breath, they can't breathe.
Are they
They get
claustrophobic?
really anxious. No. Mm-mm.
Your sister that's married to Slugsy?
Yes. Yeah.
She can tackle Slugsy, she can tackle 3 minutes of mindfulness?
She's one thing, she's on to the next thing. It's very, very difficult for her to relax, but she struggles with the breath, and she's not alone. That is why we always say in these practice, that's why you have the options of these other anchors. So if someone were here and the breath was not accessible to them or was uncomfortable for them, I'm going to sit and I'm going to focus on the weight of my hands on my thighs, or I'm going to focus on the sensation of my feet against the floor, or the strength of my own spine, or the beating of my own heart. The breath is only an option. It doesn't work for everyone. And that's not saying that it's not going to work for you, but just have the awareness. I didn't feel it. I didn't feel the breath. Okay. The other practice that I wanted to introduce today is called shamatha. And shamatha is a concentration practice where we're working with the breath. I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. I'm going to tell you how you can use it. And I would love for you, between now and the next time we see you, to work with shamatha. The word shamatha means peaceful abiding or tranquility. Again, it's part of a number of different concentration practices where we're using the breath, but we're pairing it with counting. Okay? For example, if I decided that I wanted to do a shamatha practice, I might take a deep breath in and count 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So maybe the inhale has a 1, the exhale has a 2. Does anyone know why the counting might be helpful?
Helps you stay focused.
It helps you stay focused. So that with shamatha, I'm using the breath, counting 1, 2. I hear, who is that over there?
Jeff, yeah.
Jeff. And I'm momentarily, oh, there's Jeff. And I come back. What if I forgot the number? What do I do? Start over again. Okay. So another manipulation of that is maybe it's just inhale, exhale 1. Inhale, exhale 2. You can count it that way as well. Another shamatha practice that I like to use is count your age. Count up to your age. Chances are, for me, by the time I get to my age, meditation's time as well. The timer's already gone off, right? So you can count your age. Another beautiful shamatha practice is to imagine in your mind a screen or a canvas, and you see the number come across the screen, 1, and then you see it fade away, 2, and then you see it fade away, right? And you just keep going, 3. Whenever you're called away, what do? You come back and you start over again.
We come to our age, we could be here all day. If we have to keep starting over, we could be here all day.
For a while.
Another practice, Jen mentioned this one. I had never heard this one before until she mentioned it. Is imagining that you have, like, plucked a flower, the daisy. 1. Just hold the image. 2, 3. It's the daisy, right?
Mm-hmm.
He loves me not, right? Yeah, you can. So you want to ask. You can be creative with it. But in shamatha, we're pairing the breath with some form of counting. Count your age backwards. Because we want a focus on the breath, and the focus on the counting gives us that what we call 1-point focus. And if I have that 1-point focus, I not only bring myself into a mindful state of mind, I am enhancing my capacity for concentration. So when I practice that way, I'm enhancing my ability for focus. I'm, again, building that musculature. If you're starting to feel like your focus has been compromised because of stress, your concentration, your laser-like focus. And you know when you feel that way. And there may be certain times of day where you feel that my focus is laser-like. Shamatha can help you to rebuild that if you've been feeling sort of unfocused and scattered. Okay, we're going to do a 2-minute shamatha practice before we leave. We're almost at the 5 o'clock hour. So I want you to choose, based on those options, what you want to work on. And this will be a silent practice. I'm going to set the timer. When you hear the bell, the sound of the chime, again, you just simply drop the chin and open your eyes. Okay?
What's the purpose of dropping the
It's a nice way to kind of, we don't ever want to come out like, okay, we're out. Just dropping the chin is a nice way of cueing the body and the brain that you're coming out. You don't have to do it.
Okay, no,
Sometimes when Jen teaches, she will say, okay, drop the method. And what she means is we're going to drop the shamatha or whatever it is that we're doing. Sometimes I'll say something like, we're exiting now, just to cue people, right? But a nonverbal way of cueing yourself is just kind of dropping the chin and gazing. Now, I will tell you, in some styles of meditation, like I have a colleague of mine who's from China, and she was trained in very formal internal qigong, which is a very intense meditative practice. She might meditate for 2 or 3 hours every morning. But in that practice, the head is always released. Does anyone know why? If you're sitting like this for a long period of time, why the chin might drop? It's to relax the cervical vertebrae and the neck. Now the neck's not hanging, but it's just the chin is just dropped a little bit to relieve pressure on the cervical vertebrae.
That's where I was having my pressure before, right?
Yeah.
No,
So-
I just think it's,
So actually, even in your own meditation practice, you might just sort of drop the chin as you're meditating. Just give these cervical vertebrae a break and really relax your shoulders. Let your shoulders drop. We're not even aware. So of those various methods of shamatha, choose the one that you want to work with. 3 timed minutes, whenever you're ready. Huh?
It shot me right up. Like
It did have time to drop my chin.
yeah. And then I
Ah, yeah.
yeah, it startled me.
That was
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah, and I know you too, because you were trying to hurt me.
It startled?
It startled me, yeah.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's because I didn't think it was coming for like another 3
Yeah.
minutes.
What did you use? Which method?
I counted up, like, so when I was inhaling, I was going 1 and then 2, and I was picturing 3 and then the number 4.
Yeah.
Like, that's how I was doing it.
Good, good. Did
I
you
don't know
like
what
the
made me
method?
think of- yeah.
Okay, good.
But I was more focused on counting
Uh-huh.
than breathing, and then I
Okay.
would get back to, wait, am I breathing?
Hmm.
What number did you get to?
High. Like,
Okay.
I don't
I went to
remember.
30 and then I counted backwards and then I went back to 30.
Yeah, I was like in the 40s, and then I realized, am I even focusing on breathing? I'm
Hmm.
high up on a number, so then I just started, I dropped that and I just started breathing, and then I woke up.
Yeah. Did you count? Did you count in the same way?
Mm-hmm.
One.
I feel like my imagination pattern though was more of like a loop than
Mhm.
like a wave.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Good. Mike.
I noticed I had to actually slow it. Like, when you said in the beginning about like the breath should just be easy.
Mm.
Because sometimes, so I go to Reiki, and
Yeah.
my Reiki instructor said, I found myself doing that. So Eva, she'll say, like, do breathe like 3, hold it 3, and breathe out for 4.
Mhm.
So when I first started, I found myself going like 1, holding it, and then I thought it was too stressful. Then I thought, no, that's not what you're doing. Just relax.
Yeah.
And then I got 1, 2, 3, 4. It was
Mm-hmm.
there wasn't as much pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I realize, so sometimes that other, like, do it 3 or 4, all you're thinking about is, can I do 4? Can I hold it for 4? And it's like, you're tightened up, you're stressed out. You know what I mean?
Right. Mm-hmm. Okay. Good.
So
Good.
that was not, I learned something. It was
Yeah.
great.
Good.
Yeah, I did the 1 on the inhale and 2 on the exhale,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I got to 40.
Yeah.
Did you picture going up and down?
Now, I actually concentrated on not thinking of the numbers until I got to the point.
Mm.
I don't know why.
What point?
So, till I stopped, so. 1,
Ah.
Oh,
Got it.
gotcha.
and then
Mhm.
2, because I thought it would make me concentrate more.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And you know, the other thing that does is it ensures that you're actually, we do not take in enough air up and we don't release all the way out. Generally speaking, we don't until we start to get very conscious of it. And we need every bit and we need all of it out before we take the next breath. So you were bringing the number in when you were sure you had.
Yeah, when I would stop, I would 1 down.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I did it.
Advanced.
Well, I don't know if it's advanced. I just started thinking maybe
Yeah.
that's the way I should do it.
Yeah, yeah. Good, good.
I started counting, but then I stopped, like I just sort of dozed off,
Mm-hmm.
whatever you wanna call it.
That's okay.
And I just was sitting there breathing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I got to like 16 and I was
Yeah,
there for
the
a while.
Good.
Yeah, which was good though, like it was not, it was good though. Like,
Yeah.
I just,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Good, good.
I did the 1, 2, but I just kept repeating 1, 2. I don't
That's
know
okay.
why, just-
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Mm-hmm.
I did 1 on the inhale and 2 on the exhale, but I feel like my brain was able to think while I was counting, so I had to like I didn't lose my number, but I had to bring it back and say, no, you know.
So when you have to bring a nice analogy, if you've ever had a puppy that you're trying to train to stay nearby, right? The mind is like that. The wild puppy that's darting off. Right? You don't beat the puppy back into submit. Get back here, right? You just gently guide the puppy back into the.
Puppy the way they want to.
You bring the puppy back in, and he's like, okay, you know, and so you just do the same thing with the mind. You just bring the mind back in. No judgment.
You know what I noticed? My mind didn't wander doing that.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't have to
The
think
shamatha.
to come back
Mhm,
to the
mhm,
breath.
mhm.
You did.
I
You
just,
didn't get that.
I'm ready for a pillow
I'm very
and.
tired.
Glass of
It was
wine.
easier
Yeah, I'm very
to,
tired
like,
after
focus,
this.
'cause I was focusing on your voice.
Right. So you had, so think, today you had a lot of experiences. We started in with the anchoring, the guided anchoring. Then I led you through what are the sensation of the breath. And in this last, you didn't have the voice. Voice can be an anchor. Some people can anchor into a voice. So the one practice that we didn't get to today, because it's actually 5:10, is the practice on preciousness. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to record it for you, and I'm going to send it to you as an MP3 that you can listen to, and you can listen to it as a guided meditation. But it's going to talk about the concept of preciousness, how you can use that as an anchor. And then I'm going to actually be reading something that you can listen to, but you can use it. In other words, we can even use poetry, narrative, as a point of focus for a meditation period.
Will it be 35 minutes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That was a fast hour.
It was very fast.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Any questions?
No?
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. It's
You're
very
welcome.
good.
So between now and the next time, let's bump it up to 5 minutes. You can meditate on the 4 anchors. You can meditate, taking yourself through what are the various qualities of my breath right now. Or you can practice shamatha, just like we did, in whichever form you'd like. You had lots of options. All right. So have a good 2 weeks.
All right.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Take care.